What's up, everybody? This is GWS here, and you know what time it is. It's time for some more secular bullshit! Alright, this one's always a doozy, and this one was kind of fun to figure out, because I didn't even know the answer to this one before I came up with this. So, I mean, granted, this isn't like your heaping pie of diarrhea. This is like more, of a bull shart, if you will, I guess. So, um, I had to do some figuring to debunk this one, but let's hear the argument first.
He's saying, well, if we had concealed carry in the schools, that would have prevented this. More guns is his argument. If we have more guns, it'll stop with the gun violence. It'll prevent it. So this is an old school NRA argument where they say, listen, there are more good people in the world than bad people. Therefore, if you give everybody a gun, the good people will outnumber the bad people. And since that's the case, the good people will be able to keep the bad people in check because everybody's armed. Now, here's the thing about that argument. That makes sense. That theory makes sense, makes perfect sense, in fact. First time I heard it, I was like, shit, that's a good-ass point. Here's the problem. The empirical data doesn't back it up. So it actually turns out that when you have more guns in circulation, regardless of whose hands they're in, there's more gun violence. More guns always correlates with more gun violence. So it just turns out that upon further review, when you actually look at the empirical data, that theory of the NRA is just wrong. Or if you want to use scientific terms, that hypothesis turns out to be incorrect. So I don't fault...
So, first of all, the bullshitty part of this whole thing is, where is his citation that more guns correlates with more gun violence? First of all, let me just explain that. Yes, there are studies that show that gun deaths are correlated with more guns, and that is a reality because you have more suicides and you have suicides and accidents. And of course, like if people are handling guns more, there are more opportunities for accidents. So it's a different rationale. But is it true that more guns correlates with more gun violence? And now this is where I pulled up the data from. This is from Wikipedia, and I guess they get this from U.S. Census and FBI statistics. So it's a convenient little place. I just use the table just out of laziness, I guess. This is 2010 data also. So granted, this isn't the most up-to-date data, but this, see, Kyle has gotten into a habit of making these ridiculous claims. He made one about the Iran deal yesterday, saying, quote, 100%, the deal, quote, 100% prevents Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Now, that's wrong, but I could go on a whole other tangent on that one. And I'm not going to. We're not going to go into what the deal is and, how the IAEA is basically shackled to where it can inspect, and yeah, they can do anytime, anywhere with a notice, but it's like, you really think they're going to have any idea where to look? Iran knows that, but anyhow, we're not going to get into that. But this little claim is, he made a bunch of them, but he said that more guns, quote, always correlates with more gun violence, which is the implication he's making, considering he's comparing this to murder. Like, he might have said gun deaths, but the fact is, he's talking about the whole good guy with it. So, if you're refuting it, you pretty much have to be talking about gun murders. So, I'm just assuming that he wasn't conflating the total gun death rate with gun homicides. Because liberals would never do that. Fox! Anyhow, let's look at some of this. So, first of all, we can refute that off of its face right here. And this is a lot of interesting data. I encourage you guys to look at this because it shows how meaningless the correlation is either way. And we'll explain where the correlation goes in a little bit later. But we'll just look at some of these numbers. Now, you got DC, 25% gun ownership rate. Um, and I thought I had the total. It says the total. Um, the solved gun murder rate was 2.71 per 100,000, but I'm wondering if we have the average gun ownership rate. Um, that'd be interesting. Um, let's see. Well, I guess it doesn't. So, but anyhow, this is about where the average is going to lie if you look at this data. About 26%, 16.5 per 100,000. And then you got Louisiana, which is second. This is arranged by gun murders per 100,000. So, if you were wondering, second highest is Louisiana, 44.5, 7.7 per 100,000. So you're thinking, okay, this is, it's a good correlation. And then you get to 27 and 20, 5.4, 5.1, which is below average, yet it's one of the top in Maryland, because you got Baltimore, and that just explains. Then you got South Carolina, and then you get Delaware. Delaware is a black sheep. I did not expect this to be so high up there when I first looked at this. Delaware in the top 10 of gun murder rates. You think Delaware? What do you think? You think like pretty upper middle class to rich area. Like pretty high end part of the country. 5.2% gun ownership, 4.2 per 100,000 gun murders. Excuse me, I have a cough. Trying not to. Anyhow, then you get to Mississippi, then back up there, and then you get to some of these down here. We'll look at a few down here. 56.9 for Idaho, 0.8. 53.8, 0.9. 52.3, 1.2. So these extremely high gun ownership rates, and even Alaska. Alaska has the highest gun ownership rate in the country, 61.7% own guns, 2.7 per 100,000 gun murder rate. And Alaska has some, they got Anchorage and Fairbanks. Those are not great neighborhood cities, but yet their gun rate isn't, their gun death rate isn't that high. So where does this fit in? So I did a line of best fit plotter, cheap way. And oh well, you look at this. So first of all, we refute Kyle's main point that more guns always correlates with more gun murders. That died right there in the wiki. But then I plotted this. I plotted all these. Here are gun deaths, and over here is gun ownership. And it turns out when you have higher gun ownership, just divide this by 2, because the reason this thing would not accept decimals for some reason, so I had to convert everything. So just divide everything by 2, basically. So this 50 is 5.0, and there's only a couple above that. And see, there's actually a negative correlation between guns and gun murders, right? Negative correlation. Um, let's see if my mic's on. But as you can see, the problem is, you look at where this line of best fit is. Like, if I were to take this line away, like, could you even detect a trend? No. And in fact, I'm not sure what the R squared is, but it's probably not very strong. Like, the R squared might be like 0.08 or 0.1, or I'm not positive. I don't do linear regressions, but okay. Oh, here it is. Yeah, but anyhow, yeah, here's the slope right there. But the point I'm making is that you look at where all these lie. It's like you have places with high gun ownership and high crime. Like right here. Like, well, here's 27.1. Here's 44.5. That was the Louisiana one. So you have both high and low gun ownership rates with high and low death rates, and there's not much of a correlation. There's a slight negative correlation, but if you were to adjust this for stuff like poverty, unemployment, population density, all that. Like, if you were to apply filters, you could probably get a positive correlation. But that's not what Kaya was claiming. Kaya was claiming that more guns always correlates with more guns. That's just wrong. That is flat incorrect. And I even did this, I think it's even on my channel. I believe I did the, I can't even remember what that series is called that I did. The, I did a video on it though. It was where I did it by country. And by country, you see the same thing. There's a slight negative correlation between more guns and less guns, but as you can see, it's not that simple because you have stuff both way above and way below, and if you were to take the trend line away, you couldn't tell what direction that trend was going. Because, yeah, you have the U.S., which is the highest gun ownership rate with the highest, with a pretty high, but not absurdly high as some other countries' crime rate. But most of the countries with high gun ownership rates have very low death rates. Like, a lot of you wouldn't even know this, I'm sure. You probably heard this first from me, but if you look up the rankings of gun ownership by country, European countries have some of the most guns in the world. Like, they're not anti-gun. They have low rates of gun violence, but they have a lot of guns. There are a lot of guns in circulation outside of the UK. And even the UK, I believe, they have a low number of gun deaths, but they're not the lowest in Europe. Switzerland has an extremely low gun death rate. Theirs is probably, it's one of the, it's, I don't think it's the best in Europe, but it's one of the best, if I remember right from doing that. Um, I'll have to look up the video where I did it. But anyhow, the point I'm trying to make with this is these simplistic, nonsense little statements Kyle makes that are there to manipulate you, they're not correct. And we need more people on that channel to call Kyle out. It cannot just be conservatives. Because here's the thing, it's like, okay, you're liberal, you're for progressive stuff. I can level with you on that point. I don't agree with you, but I can level with you. But wouldn't you rather have somebody who is principled rather than just a manipulator who conflates, who does not make proper arguments, and who does not know how to read basic statistics? Anyhow, that's the video. Kyle's just wrong once again, as usual, and this one took a little bit of work for me to do, but we got it done. Anyhow, thanks for listening, guys, and God bless. Oh, and one more thing. That, quote, nerdy stuff, as somebody referred to it, being worked on, and probably within 2 or 3 days, I'll have my macro-based machine learning stuff, and it will be finished, and it'll be kind of something neat for viewers on my channel. Like, if you're not into gaming, you don't gotta watch it, but it's like, it's a different take on machine learning than anybody else that I know of is doing. I don't know what AlphaGo and all that's doing. They could be doing the same thing for all I know. But the basic machine learning stuff, the random inputs for a given output, you don't really see that much. So I'll have some examples, and I won't release anything till I have examples because, like, I'm just not good at going over code. I'm better at just explaining while we got the AI playing. So anyhow, that's the video. Thanks for listening and God bless.